Do you believe in miracles? That's kind of what today felt like, right? Your Cleveland Browns do the unthinkable. Nothing felt like it was going the Browns' way today. And they just hang around, they hang around, and they hang around. It feels fitting that special teams won this game for Cleveland, doesn't it? I mean,
how about guys stepping up? How about guys stepping up? Guys out due to injury. Guys going out in the game due to injury. And we step up and we fight.
I think today overall, mentally, we won different battles. I think we won mentally. I think going back to the final minute drives that we had a couple weeks ago, and it wasn't successful.
Shadeur drives down the field, picks up a big third down to Judy. Cleveland gets in field goal range. Andre Schmidt, 49-yarder. It's up and it's good, ladies and gentlemen.
The Cleveland Browns just pulled off a miracle. A fifth-round rookie quarterback that nobody in the organization wanted just led a game-winning drive against Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. And then he walked into the press conference and said something that has the entire NFL world absolutely stunned. I think the devil, of course, is going to attack you different ways. People around you and everything. And honestly, like, this whole year been a long year. Spiritual battles. The devil attacking him, teammates pulling him back from the edge at halftime. This isn't your typical NFL quarterback speak. This is raw, this is vulnerable, and the internet is exploding right now. Let's rewind to understand just how insane this moment really is. Week 18, Cleveland Browns at Cincinnati Bengals. The Browns are 4-12 heading into this game. They're
take Shadeur Sanders even in the 5th round except for the owner. Trust me on that. And somehow Shadeur Sanders rose from 5th on the depth chart all the way up into starting the last 7 games for the Cleveland Browns. Maybe
the season has been a disaster. They're playing with practice squad receivers, a patchwork offensive line, and a rookie quarterback who fell to the 5th round because 31 teams passed on him multiple times. Shadeur Sanders, the kid that Skip Bayless said should have gone number 1 overall. The quarterback Mel Kiper ranked above Cam Ward before the draft. He fell shockingly, preposterously, outrageously into the 5th round, where Jimmy Haslam finally said, "Let's just take him," in what many called a publicity stunt. Nobody in that organization wanted to take Shadeur Sanders, even in the 5th round, except for the owner. But somehow, this kid rose from 5th on the depth chart all the way to starting the final 7 games for Cleveland. And he just capped off his rookie season by beating Aaron Rodgers straight up, and then going to Cincinnati and beating Joe Burrow with an outrageously clutch 64-yard, 10-play drive for the walk-off field goal, 20-18 final score. And after pulling off that miracle, he dropped a press conference that nobody saw coming. I think it was a bunch of different battles that we won today, and it started with me mentally. Different battles, mental warfare, but Shadeur kept going, and what he said next is what has millions of people talking right now. Spiritual battles.
We got in at halftime, we got in the locker room, and like close teammates, close friends was like, "Nah, bro, get back to being you." You know, so it was that words of encouragement, it was that shoulder to lean on that you need in them.
All week long, my body language, everything was off. His teammates noticed. Something was wrong with Shadeur Sanders in that first half. He wasn't himself. His energy was different. His confidence wasn't there. And then at halftime, his brothers intervened. We got into halftime. We got in the locker room, and close teammates, close friends was like, "Nah, bro, get back to being you. Get back to being you." 4 words that changed everything. 4 words that probably saved Cleveland's season finale, because Shadeur came out in the second half and engineered that game-winning drive like nothing was wrong. Now let's talk about the degree of difficulty here, because you need to understand what this kid just accomplished. Pro Football Focus ranked Shadeur's pass blocking dead last in the National Football League over the 7 games he started, dead last. And Pro Football Focus ranked his receiving core dead last too. The worst pass protection, the worst receivers.
It's all in the mental. You know, I think the devil, of course, is going to attack you different ways, people around you and everything. And honestly, like, this whole year has been a long year. It been ups, downs. It been, different feelings.
The both ranked last in the entire league. Skip Bayless laid it out perfectly. Shadeur had by far the highest degree of difficulty of any quarterback in the league through these 7 games. Not just rookies, every single quarterback. And going into the Cincinnati finale, he didn't have Harold Fannin Jr., his favorite receiver who got hurt against Aaron Rodgers. He didn't have David Njoku, his best tight end. Jerry Jeudy managed 2 catches for 17 yards. That was his top receiver today. And somehow, with 1 minute and 29 seconds left, and Joe Burrow having just taken the lead, Shadeur put together the drive of his young career. 3rd and 10 at his own 29-yard line, the season on the line, and Shadeur found Isaiah Bond on an out route for 13 yards, first down. Then he swung it to Dylan Sampson for 9 yards. Then he hit Judy on a crossing route for 11 to get into field goal range. Dustin Hopkins drilled the 49-yarder. Browns win. That's clutch.
The first half was tough. The fumble, it's just another one of those things where, let's face it, he's fighting an uphill battle to earn the job because of the draft pick. Whether we agree of where he was picked or if the talent meets the draft pick, at the end of the day, if you're picked in the 5th round, you have a shorter leash. That's just kind of the way it is. You can't keep turning the ball over and expect that you're going to keep getting job opportunities. What I was super impressed with was it just was not a good game. And he got the ball with 2 minutes to go and a chance to go put his team in position to win. And we went right down the field to kick the game-winning field goal. And he made the throw to Sampson on the sideline, and then he ends up running for like 10 or 11 yards. You can be like, well, that's just a check down. No. And you can't take sacks. You can't throw interceptions. You got to know where to go with the ball. And he knew where his check down was, and he hit him, and he hit him in the chest, so he's able to make a run after the catch. He made another big throw on that drive. And I think that's like the sign of at least a good young quarterback that has potential is you can play not great for 3 quarters, and then it's money time, and you have a chance to take the team down and get a chance to win the game, and he did that. And we won 2 games to end the season with him as the starting quarterback, and go get Carnell Tate, go get some offensive linemen. You can't evaluate him any more than that. You can't look at his stats. There's no blocking. There's no protection. There's no run game. The best thing to help your rookie quarterback out is a good run game. We might as well not even attempt to hand the ball off, and everybody knows it. We have no wide receivers. Our 2 best pass catchers this year are David Njoku and Harold Fannin. Didn't play in this game. So, outside of the turnover, how much can you put on the guy?
That's what franchise quarterbacks do. They find a way to win even when they're not at their best. But here's where Shadeur really separated himself from every other rookie quarterback. He walked into that press conference and kept talking about the mental battle. I learned a lot mentally, and I learned a lot emotionally, physically, everything. I think mentally, it was how to deal with when things are going your way. When things aren't going your way, how to deal with feelings. How to deal with feelings. When is the last time you heard an NFL quarterback openly discuss dealing with feelings? In a league that prides itself on toughness, where vulnerability equals weakness, Shadeur just said the quiet part out loud. He said you could be not playing and feel some type of way, but you could also be playing and feel the exact same way. So you have to create your own reality. You need a nucleus of people around you, and it can't just be family. It has to be teammates, other people who understand what you're going through. Being able for them to come to me and say, nah, that ain't you, bro. Like you tripping right now. Like you got to get back to doing you. That's what I need. I need positivity. He needs positivity. He needs people speaking life into him. And then he dropped the most powerful revelation of the entire press conference. Quan even came over my house a couple days ago. In that dark time, he came over my house, came out and just talking like, bro, speaking life into me. And that's what I needed. In his dark time, his teammate Quan showed up at his house. Not a text, not a phone call. He physically showed up and spoke life into Shadeur when he was drowning. This is the brotherhood that doesn't show up in stat sheets. This is what it takes to survive as a rookie in the NFL when the entire world is doubting you. And the internet is absolutely divided on this. Some people are praising Shadeur for his vulnerability and honesty. They're calling him brave for speaking about mental health in a league that desperately needs this conversation. They're saying this is what the next generation of leadership looks like, but others think he's making excuses. They're calling him soft. They're saying real quarterbacks don't talk like this. Tom Brady never said this. Patrick Mahomes doesn't talk like this. Why is Shadeur Sanders putting all his business out there? Here's the thing. Shadeur Sanders is not Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes. He's a 23-year-old kid who just lived through one of the most brutal rookie seasons imaginable. He went from projected first-round pick to fifth-round afterthought. He went from fifth string to starter. He played behind the worst offensive line with the worst receivers while the coaching staff reportedly worked against him. And speaking of the coaching staff, Kevin Stefanski is about to be fired. According to Diana Rossini, Cleveland is leaning toward moving on from the 2-time Coach of the Year. Adam Schefter said his feeling is that the Browns are going to fire Stefanski. And when Myles Garrett was asked if Stefanski was coming back, he basically dodged the question. Myles said, I play football. They ask me, I'll give my opinion on whatever they ask me about, but I play football, and that's what I like to keep my focus on. I want things to be successful, however that looks. Translation, Myles doesn't care if Stefanski stays or goes. He just wants to win. And when the reporter asked Myles what it's been like playing for Stefanski, he said it's been 6 years with more downs than ups. that unfortunately they haven't made enough noise, that he doesn't know what the future holds, but he'll be happy to play for whoever. Stefanski lost the locker room. And Skip Bayless has been saying all along that Stefanski didn't want Shadeur, that he worked, especially early on, to sabotage him. Skip says those two won't work, that Shadeur is now far more valuable than Kevin Stefanski. And after what Shadeur just did these last 2 weeks, beating Aaron Rodgers and Joe Burrow back-to-back, it's hard to argue with that assessment. Now, while Shadeur's comments are going viral, there's another controversy brewing. Myles Garrett just broke the single-season sack record. 23 sacks on the year, breaking the record held by Michael Strahan and tied by TJ Watt. But social media is not being kind. People pulled up the tape of Myles getting his 23rd sack on Joe Burrow, and they're comparing it to when Strahan broke the record against Brett Favre. Burrow slid down. He gave himself up, just like Favre did to Strahan 22 years ago, and now the asterisk crowd is coming out in full force. People are pointing out that Strahan did it in 16 games. TJ Watt did it in 15 games. Myles needed 17. The comments are brutal. 17-game season, so it really doesn't count. TJ's still better. Weakest record-breaking sack ever. Burrow took a dive. Even worse, someone brought up Harvey Martin, who had 23 sacks in a 14-game season back in 1977, confirmed by Elias. But sacks weren't official until 1982. The asterisk narrative is in full effect. And honestly, Myles had to know this was coming the moment he needed that 17th game. But here's the counter-argument. Myles Garrett recorded those 23 sacks while being double-teamed on nearly every snap, while getting chipped constantly, while playing for a 5-13 team that gave opponents no reason to respect the pass rush from anyone else. He's unguardable. He's generational. And whether you want to put an asterisk next to the record or not, the fact remains. Myles Garrett owns it now. But let's get back to Shadeur, because this is the story that matters most for Cleveland's future. The locker room was celebrating like crazy after that game-winning field goal went through. Water bottles flying, yelling, cheering. A celebration you don't often hear through the locker room door for a 5-13 team. Why? Because they know what they just accomplished. They know what Shadeur just overcame. I think without the defense, we wasn't going to be able to do anything. And I think without us as an offense being able to drive down the field, they did everything they could do. So that wasn't really going to be able to win the game. The offense needed the defense. The defense needed the offense. They leaned on each other in those key moments. That's how you build trust. That's how you build friendships. And Shadeur knew the whole time that Dustin Hopkins was going to make that 49-yard field goal. No doubt in his mind, because of Hopkins' trials at the beginning of the year, because Shadeur connected with him over dealing with adversity. That's where me and him connected, like how you deal with certain stuff. Being able to talk to him, being able to be that source for him, and then him go on and have the successful season that he had. I think it was truly amazing. Connected over adversity. Over struggling, over fighting through the darkness. That's the story of Cleveland's season finale. Not the stats, not the record, the human element, the brotherhood, the mental battles that nobody sees. And then Shadeur dropped this line that might define his entire rookie year. I think the biggest lesson of this year was mentally, and I feel like I achieved that and I won that. He won the mental battle, not offensive rookie of the year, not Pro Bowl, the mental battle. For a kid who went through what Shadeur went through this season, maybe that's the victory that matters most. So what happens now? Kevin Stefanski gets fired, probably within the next 48 hours. Cleveland hires a new head coach who will inherit a 5-13 team with the greatest defensive player of his generation and a controversial 5th-round rookie quarterback who just went viral for talking about spiritual warfare. Do they build around Shadeur? Do they trade up for a quarterback in the draft? Do they sign a veteran? Those are the questions Cleveland will spend this offseason debating, and the answer might determine whether this franchise finally turns the corner or continues the same cycle of dysfunction. But after today, after that drive, after those words, one thing is absolutely certain. Shadeur Sanders is not going anywhere quietly. He's going to speak his truth. He's going to be vulnerable. He's going to talk about mental health and spiritual battles and the importance of brotherhood, and whether Cleveland is smart enough to recognize what they have remains to be seen. But the internet already knows. The viral clips are spreading. The quotes are being shared. The debate is raging. Because Shadeur Sanders just did something no rookie quarterback has done in recent memory. He won the mental battle. He admitted his struggles. He gave credit to his teammates. And he delivered when it mattered most. That's not weakness. That's real strength. The kind of strength the NFL desperately needs more of. The kind of strength that might just save the Cleveland Browns if they're smart enough not to screw it up.